Hi, my name is Piwowar, and this is my presentation on cooperative learning in the Methods of Teaching ESL in Bilingual Programs class. So to begin, I'd like to just discuss what cooperative learning is, give a definition and an overview of some of the key elements. So cooperative learning is different from group work. Group work just means students are working in proximity of each other on similar tasks, but cooperative learning takes it a step further. Students are forced to be more interdependent. They might have different roles. They're all responsible for perhaps learning different content or completing some aspect of the task that they bring to the table, and in this sense they all rely on one another so that they actually are truly learning together instead of just learning near each other. And cooperative learning also is an opportunity for students to develop their socio-emotional skills alongside of learning their content, because they're forced to work on their problem-solving skills, their communication skills, perhaps conflict resolution if they disagree on how to achieve the task. So it's also a strategy that allows students to develop as people. So according to Johnson, there's 5 key elements of cooperative learning. The first is group interdependence. As I've mentioned, students might have different roles. They might have different jobs within the cooperative learning activity. However, they still do have mutual goals. This is what keeps them together as a group and what binds them. Even though they're working in a group, there is individual accountability. So there should be various checkpoints along the way for the teacher to assess that particular students know what's going on, and so it doesn't end up that one student does all of the work for the group. There is that accountability so that all students are learning and all students are pushing themselves. The third element of cooperative learning is it promotes face-to-face interaction, so students have the opportunity to work with one another, to share their knowledge, to share their skills, and to work together face-to-face in a way that allows them to achieve whatever the goal is. The fourth element is the social skills. As mentioned, this cooperative learning provides an opportunity to develop social-emotional skills, and this is a really critical element of cooperative learning and a lot of how it differs from group work. And lastly, really a key element is a group process and reflection that should take place at the end of cooperative learning. This is really important so that students can take what they've learned in terms of the process and in terms of group work and in terms of working through something with their peers, and they can apply this to future experiences. So there's a lot of benefits of cooperative learning. Just a couple of things to note though. First, it works best if students are grouped heterogeneously, so meaning students of different skill sets, students perhaps of different language levels, students with different background knowledge, students that just are different in a variety of ways should be grouped together. They should not be grouped with students that are the same as them, so that they can all bring their unique skills, unique experiences, and strengths to the table, while also pushing each other and helping to support one another to develop their weaknesses. So it also works best if students are in groups of 3 to 4. Studies show that there's a 9% gain in student achievement when they're in groups of 3 to 4, much bigger than that, and that dips if they're just in pairs. It's only about a 6% gain in achievement. So 3 to 4 is really the sweet spot, how many students you want to be in a group. So a couple of benefits is that according to Gotsky, we retain 95% of what we teach someone else. So through cooperative learning, since students have different roles, they have to share that information, share what they've learned, the content with their peers, and through teaching that, it's a really powerful experience for them to retain that information and to really make it stick. Also, studies show that we retain 70% of what we discuss. So even if students are not teaching others a particular element through the project, they're discussing it, they're asking questions, they're getting clarification, and so through this discussion they really truly learn the material. And lastly, as mentioned, they gain social-emotional skills as well as the content knowledge. They're learning how to resolve conflict, work through problems, work with others, people that may be different from them, their communication skills and how to express themselves, all of which are really necessary for their future academic and professional success. So in order to implement this, teachers need to do some prep work. They need to outline what the roles are going to be for the students, and most importantly, set clear goals that they also share with the students. So there need to be goals in terms of content, weekly goals in terms of language, how the students should be talking about the material, how they should be expressing their knowledge, etc. Teachers need to monitor the activity once they set students to work, so setting time limits. You have 5 minutes to work on this part, and then we're going to share out. Providing group feedback, as mentioned earlier, letting students know what they're doing well, how they can improve. There needs to be some sort of assessment at the end from the teacher to determine the success. This could definitely be differentiated to help students that are at different levels of English, even those students that are most advanced, to push them to use much more academic language. And it's also really critical, as mentioned, that students have opportunities at the end to process and reflect on the experience so they can transfer this knowledge over to future experiences. So there's a lot of strategies that can be used in cooperative learning. I'm just going to touch on a couple of ideas and things that could be used. So you can definitely provide roles that are differentiated for content and for language. So you could do this by providing leveled or modified readings or other resources that are somehow accommodated for students based on their background knowledge, based on their level of English. You can provide sentence stems, again, there's some you can use for the lowest level of English speakers and also even for the highest level to push them to use much more academic vocabulary. And you could also differentiate by allowing different opportunities for students to express their knowledge by using different forms of intelligence. So students could draw something, they could write something, they could speak to, they could act it out. There's a whole variety of ways that students can be held accountable for their learning, but also present their knowledge in a way that's best for them and allows them to shine. And then so in regards to individual accountability as well, there's a lot of things you can do along the way to make sure that students are learning. So, for example, think, share, numbered heads are just a couple to keep in mind.